Hi, in this webinar I'll be showing you how to create a ProModel model of a distribution center built almost entirely using AutoCAD and this ProModel application. I've pulled up a drawing of a distribution center and I'll just show you a little bit about what we're going to model. It's got receiving docks at the top, several of them. It's got several shipping docks at the bottom. And then it's got 6 sections of racking of various quantities and numbers of aisles and orientation, either horizontal or vertical. For this model, we're only going to model section 1 right here. So to do that, we use this application up here and we select the Locations tab. And what I want to do is build in some locations for where things are going to happen. And the first one that I want to do is build one location at the pick desk. Now the pick desk is where the drivers get their assignments for where they need to go pick. So we'll put a location right there. And by the way, when you see a location, you'll notice that it's an AutoCAD, they're called blocks, and it looks a little bit like a ProModel location in the sense that it has a red X. But it has attributes just like ProModel, and it's got a location name, an aisle, a material handling section, a zone, and a node. That's a ProModel node. It's not populated with values yet, but that's what it's going to eventually contain. Alright, so we've done our pick desk. The next thing I want to do is add multiple locations at once. So in this example, I've already counted for my section 1, and I know that there's 20 racks wide and 28 rows deep. So I'm going to put my 20 racks wide there and my 28 rows there, and I'm going to say finish, and then it says, do you wish to turn snap on? And I want to say yes. I'll show you what that does. So really what we're going to do is we're going to just paint a square, and snap helps us do that on the very first bin or location where things are stored. And then we're going to do the same thing at the end of that first row, like that. And then we're going to pick second row, doing the same way. And then we're going to pick the third row, the starting location. And after we've done that, then the program automatically has the spacing pattern known, so it's able to fill in all the locations. And when I say all the locations, I mean just like that, it entered a lot. It entered 561 locations. Alright, so there's one more location I need that's a single. So I'll go back to single aisle, it's just one, and that is my shipping dock. So this is where things are going to get shipped. Now, so I hit escape to finish out that task, and now what I want to do is I want to import the locations. So there is an AutoCAD file, an Excel file that contains all 562 location names along with the attribute values, just in columns. And when I import that, it goes ahead and does that, brings it in, populates the attributes in the AutoCAD blocks. And so for this example, it's location, so it's row number 529, location index 529. It's the actual DC location is A20700130000. It's found in aisle 14, or it is aisle 14. It's accessed with a double pallet jack. It's found in zone 1, and the node, that's a ProModel node, hasn't been assigned yet. Alright, so we've put in our locations. Now the next thing to do is move on to the Nodes tab. So we're following a very similar recipe as you would in ProModel to build a ProModel model. What we're going to do next is we're going to add 10 nodes for our fork trucks to park. So to do that, I'm going to select add horizontal nodes, ask me how many, I'm going to say 10, and I'm going to put them down here. They can just park, and we'll just space them out evenly from left to right, and when it's done, you'll see that it's numbered the nodes. So the pink is the number of the node, node 1, and the number above it is what it's connected to. So there's a connection to node 2 on the right side of the screen, and the distance is 20 feet, 0.22. Okay, so that's what it does for you. And now the next thing is to do all of the path networks up here. And so to do that, I'm going to move over here to multiple aisles, and we're still in the horizontal section. So I'm going to select horizontal, and I'm going to put in, I know that there's 13, I want to put in 13 nodes, and I want it to be 15 aisles. So I'm going to select a spot outside of my main aisle so I can travel vertically, and then the next thing is over here to put an end spot, and then the last thing is to come down at the bottom of this section and do the same thing. And when I finished, you'll notice that it's put all the location or all the nodes in, numbered them, linked them, and records the distance between them. But you might also know that to develop a finished model in ProModel, you have to connect all of these end nodes to make a complete path network. So how do you do that? Well, before we do that, I want to add a few individual nodes at the bottom of the screen. So I'm going to select add horizontal nodes, and if you put a 1, then it goes into a repeating pattern where you can just put nodes wherever you feel like it. So I feel like putting some here and here and here, and maybe one over here. And then you can hit escape, and now I have to connect those nodes. So to do that, I'll use a window, selection window, and I'll just window around the ones that I want to connect. And okay, so we're done with the bottom. Now what I want to do is connect the ones along the side. And we'll do the other side as well. All right. Maybe we want to do some in here too. Let's do a few there. And do those. Okay. So that looks like a pretty good path network to me. All right, so we're done. So I'll just hit escape one more time. And so now what we get to do is the interfaces. As you know, in ProModel, you have to click on every location and then the node that you want it to be assigned to. So that could take a while if you have 562 locations. So to make things a little bit quicker, we're going to assign interfaces like this. We're going to do them all at once. And you can see that it has drawn a dashed line similar to ProModel. It's choosing the closest node. And when I spaced out my nodes, I decided that 2 locations was okay per node on each side of the aisle. So that makes a total of 4 locations are assigned to each node. Now that's totally up to you. If you wanted, you could put a node at each location, but the truth is, in distribution centers, 2 fork trucks will never get that close to each other. They, for safety reasons, will stay at least this far apart. So really what I'm modeling is pretty accurate, pretty realistic. Alright, so that takes care of the interfaces. Now what we need to do is create a background. So to do that, I'm going to go to the next tab, and I'm going to choose this button called Create WMF. And what that does is it asks me to draw a window around the section of the drawing that I would like my AutoCAD WMF to be created. Now I did not have ProModel pulled up, but the program pulls it up automatically. And as you can see, it took a blank model, created a Windows meta file, and imported it into the background and sized it so that I could see it pretty nicely. And that is exactly what we're going to model. Alright, so what I need to do now is I have to tell AutoCAD what the locations are in my ProModel model by pixel. So I'm going to come up here to View, and I'm going to come down here to Show Layout Coordinates, and now I have a little XY coordinate system, and I'm going to zoom in, maybe a little more. I'm holding the Shift Control key down when I do that with the mouse. And so I'm going to say that my model background starts at location 2342 by 1224. Okay, that's fine. Let's zoom all the way out. Where's my zoom? Zoom to fill out. And now let's zoom in down here at this corner and pick off that coordinate. So I'm going to put that my mouse is blinking. Alright, it's 17655 by 10636. Okay, that's all we needed to do. So now I switch back to AutoCAD, and where it says the next yellow box I'm going to select, it says enter ProModel coordinates. It says corner 1's X coordinates. Well, I wrote that down to be 2342, and then it filled it in. And then the next one is point 1 Y coordinates, so that's 1224. And then corner 2, I wrote down 17655. And then corner 3, corner 2, point 2 is 10,636. And if you make a mistake, you can hit it again, enter the new numbers in. But I'll just check that, 2342, 1224, 17655, 10,636. That looks good. Okay, so that's done. And now the next thing to do is to select the Resource tab. And I've already filled this out from before. But if you double click on this, there's a way to fill out or to change. You can put the resource name in. This happens to be a clamp truck. And the path is grayed out because that's what we always use, is the SDC path. You can put in a speed empty and a speed full, and accelerations. You can put the home node in. This is the graphic, no, that's the quantity. We want 8 of them. And the graphic ID is 11. Now that comes from the graphics editor's library. That's the ID. I just happen to know it's a picture of a clamp truck. And then you can make the clamp truck as big or small as you want through this width and height foot setting, and then you can change the actual animation size as well and make that a different size if you want. So I'll leave that there alone, and therefore we don't need to really do anything. Now the next thing that I want to do is I want to export, and I'm going to select the 4 buttons. I want to export the locations. Alright, so that's done. I want to export the path networks, and now that's done. And then the interfaces, that's done. And finally the resources, and now that's done. Alright, so now let's switch over to ProModel, and that's the location table. And as you can see, all the locations are there. Aren't you glad you didn't type those and position those? And then let's check the path and networks. I want to zoom out, by the way. Zoom to show the layout, fit the layout. Alright, so there you have it. We have all the locations pulled in, the path networks and the interfaces, resources, it's all there. Alright, so what's next? Alright, so I went over and saved this file out as demo 1 with graphics. Just in case something bad happens, I can pull this back up. Alright, so the next thing to do is to click on this button called the model logic. Now it doesn't write your code for you. Unfortunately, I haven't figured out how to do that automatically, but what it will do is it will take another model that the logic lives in and combine it with your model or the graphics model to make one model. And so the usefulness of that is you keep your logic separate from your graphical model, and then when your layout changes or you want to experiment with a different number of aisles or anything else, you just throw away the model and recreate a new one and bring in it automatically merges in your logic model and makes a whole model once again. Alright, so what I want to do is show you that there is some logic in here, and for this demo all I did was create some things running around on the screen, running through some logic, but I will say that we did use this tool to develop 6 huge DCs that had very complex logic, and it worked beautifully. Alright, so let's see what we have left to do here. I need to look at the size of my entities. I guess resources. My fork truck is pretty big, so I don't remember how big I need to make it, but let's just say it's that big. And it's probably okay the way it was. And now let's go ahead and see if we can run this model. Alright, so we have to save it. So let's go up here to, I call this auto model, and we'll call it demo. We'll call it demo 1 complete. Yep. Alright, so we have some action. Now I left the path networks turned on, but I could have turned them off. So we'll zoom out a little bit. And there you have it, a completed model. However, there is more. So let's run this model for a while. That's probably long enough. So we ran it a day, a shift, and we'll write out the results. And so you have your typical results, but I want to show you some results that are specific to something you can only do in AutoCAD. So if I click on the Results tab, there's something that has been created called a heat map. And the heat map is kind of cool. It does something that traditional modeling results cannot, and that is it keeps track of fork truck congestion. And the reason this is important is because there is a tendency to put your fast running products near the docks to minimize the travel time. But you can do that to a fault, to the point where too many of your fast movers are in the same few aisles, and fork trucks spend a lot of time waiting on each other to get out of the way so they can get their pick. And this tool measures how many picks were in the aisle and how many congestion minutes. So you can see up here at the top, we had 49 picks, no minutes of congestion, 52 picks, no minutes. But as you get busier and it gets to 200, 400, 500, 1,000, now this drops down because it's a half an aisle, so it's really half of 1,000. You can see the congestion goes way up. Aisle 14 is the busiest because it's got two sides to the aisle. It had 95 congestion minutes. Well, think about that. That's an hour and a half out of 8 hours. So, or 9 hours. In a 9-hour shift, we spent 1.5 hours wasted. That's not too good. So through this tool, you can experiment by spreading out some of your fast runners to a little farther away to see if you don't end up getting more done in the same amount of time, or possibly you can get the same work done with one less driver. Okay, I think that's all I wanted to cover in this recorded portion. So we'll go back to the live session for questions and answers. Thank you.